Alright guys, this is Intro to Nullsec, and we're going to do a little bit of Fleet 101 and talk about the deployment that Brave's currently on. Make sure that you guys can understand what's going on in Nullsec, the situation with most of Brave deployed, and we're going to go ahead and move over some of these frigates to the staging and deploy a jump clone there so that you can go up and participate in taking Pravi. The reason we're at war right now is Pandemic Legion, one of the kind of big bads in Eve. They took a bunch of stations from a different alliance, and now we're taking them all back because on June 7th, they all get turned into a special Fortizar like ours here. Except for faction, it'll be worth like 100 bill. Each one's worth 100 bill, so it's trillions of ISK at stake. So that's why we're deployed. It's kind of like a one-time gold rush that hasn't really happened in EVE before, so it's kind of cool. But because of that, GEHAV kind of catch, and the catch standing is not everyone's here right now, and so the internal sex is even more important, just because you need to kind of stay frosty and watch out. There's not as much protection as normal, and other people know that we're deployed, so they can come looking for easy kills. So the first thing, let me grab my notes. Okay, the first thing in Nullsec is you really want to make sure that you have the best intelligence. So there's a number of things that you're going to want to go ahead and do. So if you have not already, you're going to want to set up the ZS overview. I linked that in Fleet Chat. Does anyone not have that set up already?
No, I do not.
Okay, so let's go ahead and so the ZS overview, what it does is if you have the default overview, people might show as red or blinking or criminal because they've shot other players, but they're really our friends. So you might not be able to shoot. You might not be able to, you might shoot our friends. So this overview will help you make sure that you're gonna separate friend from foe. So what you do is go ahead and join this channel, click join. And then what you're gonna wanna do is, there's instructions there you can follow, but the easy thing to do is you have to click the pack. So you need the core that says required next to it. I like the PvP advanced, and then I like the standard 1BL. So you end up clicking 3 different things. That'll change your overview so that you end up having a travel tab, which is good for traveling around, but then that tab does not have any, it doesn't show the enemies in the tab, but it tells you what you can travel to. The combat tab shows more, and it'll show all enemies there. Targets includes drones, just in case you need to kill drones that are on you. Miscellaneous covers a lot of other things that, particularly like if you're looting after a fight, we loot after a fight, or while you're ratting or anything else and you're trying to loot. Friendly, this is how you can see your friends. So if you're in a logistics ship, which is the space healers, this is good. It's a good way to find your friends, or if you need to if you need to find one particular person to approach, then this is one way to do it. Warp out is a tab that that has like all the celestials, so you can just warp out in an emergency. If you've died and you want to try to save your pod, you can warp out. I've added a mining tab myself, which is pretty easy to do in the overview settings. So did everybody get the CS overview set up now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So one good thing to do on each tab is to go ahead and click on the hamburger menu. Whenever I say that, that's the upper left menu. It looks like 3 lines, top upper left corner. And go ahead and show all brackets. That's kind of the best way to see things in space. That way, when you're on the different tabs, you can see like your friends in space. All right, so now that we have now that we have all this set up, the next thing to do to really stay safe in Nullsec is take your local window, and if it's grouped up with the other chats, you're going to go ahead and drag that out. You should always have it separate. So in Nullsec, pretty much anywhere except for wormholes, local is one of your best intelligence tools because you can see who's in system. So the best thing, the safest way to be is if there's neutrals, which are grays or blacks, or reds, which are red or orange, anyone who's not blue, green, purple is a danger to you, or should be as soon to be danger. So having local open, you can quickly see who's in system. So like right now, there can only be one is in system. So we'd have to take that into account with any action that we're doing. So the easiest way to set up local so it's easy to see lots of people is to go up and hit member list settings, which is kind of the group of 3 people next to the gear. Click on that, and you want to show compact member list. So we usually don't recommend ratting or mining. Ratting is killing NPCs. NGEHAV, which is our home system, because there's so many people, and we get a lot of traffic for people who are looking for fights. So, and it's also hard for you, if you're using local as an intelligence tool, it's hard for you to see when a new person comes into space. Whereas if you go to one of the adjacent systems, it's easier to see if anyone new comes in. One trick that you can use if you're going to be doing something else and kind of watching, if you're ratting and you're watching Netflix, what you can do is you can select all. You can shift click everybody, or I think is it Alt A? Suddenly, do you know?
Control A.
Control A. So if you Control A, it highlights everybody, and then if you whenever anyone else new comes in system, they will not be highlighted. So that kind of helps them stand out. So any time, so almost everyone has local pulled out like this, and you can really minimize it. You almost don't even need to know the names. So you can make it really small so you can just see the symbols, and then also local is usually filled with silliness, so you can make that as small as possible where you can't even really see the chat.
What do I do if I have limited screen real estate, but I still need to have local open? And I really, 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 really don't want to have to cover more on my screen.
What's that?
No, nothing.
Oh, you're saying hide a little bit. You can hide it behind another window.
Yes.
Yeah, you can kind of, on the video, I can show this, but you can drag it. You have to be careful that it doesn't get pinned behind the chat windows, but you can kind of drag it so you only see the symbols if you want.
Oh, so like you cover up the text.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on using local as an intelligence tool? All right, so the next best thing you can do is be in Mumble. So you're already in Mumble here. So when you're in Mumble, you're going to want to be in the part of the standing fleet closest to the systems you're in. So typically, if you're around catch, you're going to want to be in catch 1. And so that's where anyone who's doing things in catch will be there. If they're getting too chatty, you can go down to catch 2 or catch 3, and hopefully this doesn't always happen, but they'll shout, which I'll talk about in a second, but you can talk between channels with a shout. That's why I asked you to set up a mumble key before this. If you want to go down to impasse, which is another area that you can make lots of ISK, there's a lot of mining going on down there. You would want to be in the impasse chat. And just right now, because we are also deployed up towards in Northern Catch to Providence, there's also a deployment chat. So if you're near there, you'll go down to the deployment chat. So being in Mumble, even if you don't talk, even if you don't have a mic, like some of you can hear people say this, so-and-so came in system, or there's a fleet of jackdaws one system over, and then you can kind of make a decision. Are you going to stay in space, or are you going to go dock up, or are you guys going to form together and fight him? So, like the other day, someone was saying there was someone coming on the NGE going to the 3-TAC-0 gate, and I was inside 3-TAC-0. So then I knew that I had a few minutes to go get safe before he came into system, and sure enough, he came right into system a few minutes later, and I was able to be safe before. Whereas if I was relying on local, then I might have to align and warp out just based on the local tool. So you've got local and you got mumble. So then the other ones that you're going to want to add are some chat channels that our coalition uses. So they are int.catch and int.impasse. I'm leaking them in Fleet right now. You don't need to be in both, but you should be in the one that you're in the systems of. So if you're hanging out around GE, you're going to go ahead and join int.catch. And people, what they're doing is they're posting if a system is clear, or they're posting if they see bad guys. So what you do is you drag the system name in, you drag the player's name in, and then and if you know what ship they're in, you say that. Also in that channel, so let me drag it out here. If you want to be even more cautious, this website, the intelmap.xyz, it takes the information that's said in the int.catch or int.impasse and puts it on a website. So if you join and no one's chatting at the moment, you can look up what the old information is. That's pretty. I actually don't use that Intel map XYZ that often, but I know some of the guys who are flying a lot bigger and more expensive ship use that website a lot.
Use it all the time.
Norman uses it all the time.
I have a question.
Yes.
That int.catch, is that a public channel?
If you're in Alliance, you should be able to join.
Yeah, no, I'm in it. I was just wondering if anyone can join, if it was a public channel.
Only blues to us.
Okay.
So then the final one is kind of be in fleet chat. So fleet chat, sometimes people post intel there, but usually it's not the best place. If you are tackled and if you're in catch standing comms, particularly if you're in GE or a system really nearby, you should say in comms, I'm Jinx, I'm tackled in 3-TAC-0 by a retribution. And X is in fleet. Then you type X is in fleet. And now I've shared enough information where people will come warp to me. Hopefully they'll come out of GE and warp to me. Again, because we're on deployment right now, this kind of action is less common. But if all you guys stuck around GE and you were all in catch standing fleet and you were all in catch comms, then you could protect each other like that. If you just say, I'm tackled, then no one's going to come, just because you could be tackled by 30 guys. They don't know where you are. They don't know who you are because you said I'm. So it's important to kind of give that third person the intelligent, what's got you, where you are. Any questions about that? Suddenly you're getting on video bumping me, I see. All right, so just kind of moving on, I'm going to link .land. So .len is a series of maps. It takes a while to get used to reading them, but the one I linked there is a good one to save. So it's got catch in all the jump bridges. So go ahead and pull that up. All our systems should be in green, and they say Brave underneath of them. So these maps are really good reference. It kind of can give you an idea how to travel between things. So if everybody can find GEHAV, you'll see a little blue line that goes to E3. So that means there's a jump bridge. So if, instead of having to go through AX.mux E1 AOK, you can just go directly to E3. If you right click in space right now, if you're on the undock, you can go down to corp locations and you can see jump bridge, and then there's a bookmark there for the jump bridge. So that's how you would get to the jump bridge. We'll use one a little bit later, but I just want you to know that that one's there. Some other interesting information about GEHAV. So most of the enemies tend to come through Victor TAC 3, and so that's the pink one. It says test underneath it, and you heard I said TAC. So when people, that's really just how we say dash on comms. It's just a little bit more clear, and you say Victor TAC 3 instead of TAC 3 because right next to it, just to the north in gray, is Bravo TAC 3 or B TAC 3. So
You could also say Victor Tech 3.
Didn't I say that?
No, Victor.
Oh no, that's terrible.
I feel like that would cause a lot of confusion.
So those two can get really confusing, particularly when there's a fight happening. So you can hear the difference between them. So most of the fights, most of the people are coming through Victor Tech 3 to fight us. So if you pick a system to rat or mine or do other things in, being a little bit farther away from there, a few jumps will make you a little safer. So 4MTAC HGL or MyWive, or even going as far as HPTAC 64T could make you a little bit safer if you wanted to do some ratting in a Vexor or VNI. Any questions on this map and catch? Okay, go ahead and leave that up. We're going to refer to it later. I think I have another link. All right, so we're going to just do some fleet navigation basics, talk about broadcast and broadcast history, and watch lists. So first thing I want you to do is go ahead and add me to your watch list. So what that means, go ahead and right click on my name. I'm going to right click on Sunlee's name here because I can't do it to myself. And then just in fleet chat, right click, fleet, add to watch list. A little window pops up and it'll put their name up there. So you're going to watch list me. I'm the FC, or fleet commander. So when you join a fleet for PvP action or a strategic op or strat op is what you're going to hear. Then the FC will say, put me as your primary anchor or watch list me. And so you're going to want I usually put them at the top so I remember where they are. You can go further to distinguish them. What I do is if you hit the hamburger menu at the top left, you can you can say enter color edit mode. And then this is a new feature that logistics pilots everywhere rejoiced. And now it puts a little box next to the name, and I color them white. So all my FCs are white, so I can I visually can find them really quickly. So the watch list sometimes there's a secondary commander, or they ask you to add other people to watch lists. If you get into flying logistics, which is space healers, then you're going to have a watch list full of people, and you can learn more about that later. So go ahead, now that you have me on the watch list, let's go ahead, everybody on anchor on me. What that means is keep it range 1000. So I like to left click, and I know lots of people like to right click, but I left clicked on the watch list, keep it range 1000. to my do that to me. So this is called anchoring. So anchoring is important because it keeps all of us at the same range. It keeps our healers within range of us. And so when the FC tells us to fire on somebody, he knows that we're all within the same range of each other. So, you know, some weapon systems, if the FC is at 50 kilometers and knows he can hit, and everyone's grouped up on him, you'll be able to hit too, is what I mean. Okay, everybody just go ahead and control space right now. So the next part is using the broadcast window. So go ahead and hit the fleet button, which looks like 3 chevrons over on your, I think it's the Neocom. Anyway, to open the broadcast window, you want to be on the history tab. So what this does is shows you what people are broadcasting within the fleet. So like if I was going to tell you to align to a structure, so I'm going to say broadcast align to, you'll see a pop-up that says align. So this is how the FC, they don't always use this, but this is one way that the FC can tell you to align so that we all warp together. And we'll demonstrate that in a moment. The other thing I want to show you is how to broadcast for shield. So typically if you're in E-War frigates or tackle, you don't do this, but if you're in one of the mainline doctrine ships or a healer, then you can broadcast for shield. So there's a button. There's actually some little arrows that you have to reveal it at the bottom right-hand corner. There's a button that you can figure out how to set a hotkey for at one point, but go ahead and everybody broadcast for need shield. All right. And we have a capsule and fleet. Cadello, if you need a ship, I can trade you a ship as well. So if you're watching this video, you'll see that I have shield broadcast set up as blue. So the way that you can change the broadcast colors is you hit the hamburger menu upper left, you hit broadcast settings, and then you have the different ones on, and you can assign them a color. So I have need armor is yellow, need capacitor is green, broadcast target is red. So if you're in a DPS ship, the main ship of the fleet, so if they call for Feroxes, that's the DPS ship. If they call for Hurricanes, that's the DPS ship. Broadcast target is red. If you're watching the video, you'll see that mine is not clicked. That's because I'm usually in a logistics ship, so I don't need to know who the main target is. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on for this this fleet. Now I can see that somebody broadcast me as the target earlier, so thank you.
You can see who it is by right-clicking from piloting.
I can't see that.
Fleet member, show info. Right-click, fleet member, show info.
Oh, I can see Sun Lee broadcasted me as target. Jinx is primary. So now that we spammed up this broadcast window, say we warp to the gate, we exit, so that part of the engagement, the fight, is gone. We can go ahead and you can hit the upper right button and clear history. So that can be kind of a mess, so it's nice to clear it. So if you're watching the video, sorry, I do keep a messy window here, but there's a lot of things going on, and I'm just used to having this kind of setup here. So is anybody have any questions about the watch list or the broadcast window? Okay, so let's go ahead and practice some warps. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to align to this right there. So the FC would probably say align, align, align. And he's going to give you a few moments to do that. It's important that everybody aligns at once because then we can all warp at once. Beautiful. So you see how we all warp together and then we ball up? So this is how we'll land. So if we weren't all aligned, we'll slowly land separated. And if we were warping into a fight, that could be a problem. That was a beautiful ball. And so that was great. Now in a fleet, things are happening quick. The FC might say a line, and you don't have much time, so that when you hear a line, that needs to be something that you do as quick as you can. So because this is a brand new moon, I warped you to the Brave Dojo Blood Moon. If you want to, after the class, if you want to, you can come mine some of this tasty moon goo. But that's not what we're going to do right now, so I'm going to go ahead and do another line, and I'm not going to give you as much time this time. Or I am, because I'm going to mess up. See, we left a few behind. See, even though they're not aligned, they are going to go ahead and get warped with us. They'll just land a few moments afterwards. Okay, so for this next part, I want to take you guys all the way up to the staging, and we can leave a ship there. Does anyone not have infomorph psychology trained up so you can leave a jump clone? And if you want to take a different ship, let me know and I can trade you one. So infomorph psychology is this. So if you do not have that, I can give you the book now.
I do not.
All right, we're going to go back here. So I can give you what's called a cold warp. I'll just take a frigate, Desire. So a cold warp is where there's been no aligned broadcast or anything. The FC just warps everybody out. Sometimes he does that because he sees an opportunity. Sometimes he does that for safety.
I also do not have that book.
Okay, can you go ahead and dock up in the Fortizar? And can you X up in fleet if you need infomorph psychology? All right, so go ahead and train that now, and it should get there by the time we get to the system. Does anyone need a PvP frigate to take up there? E-War is a really good choice to take on this, but tackle is just fine too. And Dojo also has ships up in EVRK, which is the staging that we're heading to.
I was thinking of taking my bomber, my Manticore out there, but I don't know if I should do that later.
You'll have us. You'll be with us, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's no problem. I was gonna take it out anyway, so I just thought maybe two birds, one stone.
Yeah, that works great. It's just, if we run into big resistance, I can replace all these ships. I can't replace your bomber. All right, everybody go ahead, and FC might do this too as part of heading somewhere. So go ahead and set destination to EVRK. Systems are often only the first 3 or 4 letters are often used because Eve names are hard to say. Sometimes people will say like 0SHT is oh shit. So you'll have to get used to the local names and how people say them. But you're brave. Everyone's expecting questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Anybody else need anything before we go? Exit and fleet. All right, everybody go ahead and align to Victor Tech 3.
I'm undocking. Give me just a second.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'm out and aligned.
So one thing that we also have lots of gate tacticals that you can find in your bookmarks, the corporation bookmarks. So something that FC might ask you to do is they might ask you to align to the gate, but then you don't want to warp yourself because they might do this. And they might warp up to a tactical. They could even be doing that for OPSEC, operational security reasons. They could be worried that someone's listening, or other reasons, or just for safety. So even though we aligned to Victor Tac 3, I warped us to a tactical that is above the gate. So if because I didn't tell you to align to this particular bookmark or anything, if someone was going to try to trap us, they would have put a bubble around the gate, and we would have been safe up here. Are we not above the gate? I just picked one at random. There, I found it. Yeah, I'm upside down. That's right, G, thanks. All right, everybody go ahead and align to the gate. When you're on grid with something, to align, you have to hit approach. You can also double click in space close to things to get an approximate line. But yeah, the align to command only works for things that are off grid, and the grid is kind of an arbitrary size, but it's things you can't see in space. Dimbover, are you close?
Yeah, one jump out.
Tholisher pointed out that you can also press Q and click in space to hit approach. Okay, the FC might ask you to warp yourself to the align. So I warped to Victor Tech 3. You guys need to go ahead and do that too. I'm not 100% sure why they do that. Sometimes I think they're testing to see how awake everybody is. So the gate is red. FC might say that. That means do not jump through. You do not say the J word if you are not the FC, because if you say, do I jump? Then other people hear the J word and jump through. So resist that. They might say, when they want you to jump, they might say the gate is green or jump, jump, jump. But right now the gate is red. Go ahead and orbit 1000. Dimbover, are you here? Yes. All right, that was Sunly.
I am here.
All right, let's go ahead and jump through. You close, Dimbover?
Yeah, I'm here. I just jumped with you guys.
All right, sweet. So I didn't show you this image. So even though we did a set destination, the route is probably not a very safe one right now because it's having us to go Bravo Tac 3, and there has been a gate camp that's been there almost constantly. I'm going to cold warp us over to this Astra House to get us away from the rats. So what we're going to do, if you click on this image, we're going to use one of these jump bridges. So this is kind of the longer but safer way to get to the staging right now. So right now set destination has this going around to the left, which will be more dangerous for us. But what we're going to do is we're going to go HY, take a jump bridge, that blue line, all the way to 2JW. Then we're going to do a one jump to the right, GMLHK, and we'll be able to, then the set destination will be correct and we'll be able to go around to the left. And that's why we're going to want to leave a jump clone so we don't have to travel this way very often. Okay, I want everybody to go ahead and align to HY. Align, align, align. Lost a couple there.
Yeah, I think the align
don't
time
got it.
on this isn't great.
Yeah. Some Keldari. Space weeds.
I think you're just slow.
Very true.
It's okay. All right, everybody go ahead and jump through, jump, jump, jump. So both these systems that we're in HY TAC now, both Victor TAC 3 and HY can have a lot of neutrals. So you should be watching local, kind of practicing the things that you've learned. Looks like we're gonna have a pretty safe trip here. So after you come out, someone might, the FC might say, hold your cloak. So right now we're all cloaked. He might be trying to buy some time, or if there's enemies on the side of the gate, he's not ready to reveal it, or he's trying to pick a target, or have time to think. So, or he might say, break your cloak. So if you break your cloak, you just double click in space, and then everybody pops up. I was trying to see, I was trying to broadcast the line, but I broadcast to travel there. But I'm going to go ahead and warp everybody there. All right, so this is a jump bridge. So the jump bridges are based on player own stations, which you can see below. That has a nice cool shield. And then this jump bridge here, what you can do, this will link us to the next system. And what you have to do is you have to right click. First of all, you have to make sure you're within 2,500 meters. Sometimes when you warp to a bookmark or you get warped with a fleet, you might be a little bit outside that range. So go ahead and right click on it and hit jump through to 2WJ.
But we're not wearing protection.
No, we're not.
We're not wearing our space condoms.
So what you'll notice now is you now have jump fatigue. So what jump fatigue does, if the blue timer is the top left, if you continue to use jump bridges or jump to sinos and capital ships, this will stack up to 5 hours. That used to go up to 5 days. That just recently changed. That one doesn't matter too much other than it affects the calculation of the red timer, which is right next to it. So the red timer right now, we've got about 5 minutes of jump fatigue. And what that means is we can't jump again for 5 minutes. So if you stack up blue timer, the red timer will go from 5 minutes to, I can't remember the sequence, but it goes up to 30 minutes, and you'll actually have to wait 30 minutes before you can use another one. You'll notice that the set destination still has us go to the left on .len or go through SV5. SV5 has some friendly, simple farmers. I think they're Norman's best friends. And they do a lot of smart bombing, which would be bad for us frigates. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to align to GMLH. and we're going to go around the other way, and the set destination will fix itself. You can also hit avoid system on SVK, and that would fix it too.
I think the red timer is calculated as 10% of the new time. Is that correct?
But with a maximum of 30 minutes.
Well, it's like, for example, when we jump through, I think it set our blue timer to like 55 minutes. And then we got a timer of 5.5 minutes that started the orange timer.
All right, so something else the FC might ask of us, particularly that we're in frigates, he might ask one of the tackle, so somebody in one of the Atron Condor executioner or slasher, he might ask for a +1. What a +1 means is the person who's going to jump in and tell me what's going on in the next system. So can somebody X up as a +1? So Thalisher, go ahead and jump through and tell us what is on the other side. Everybody else hold. All right, thanks, Thalisher. He said gate clear, no newts in system. So if we were in an actual fleet, you would, everybody jump through. You would actually have to shout. The FC is probably another channel, so you'd have to set up a shout key in Mumble to make sure that you shout up so they can hear you say that. Having a mic for Eve is a definite benefit. So he might ask you to continue +1ing, and that means you always stay one jump ahead. You can do that if you want, Thalisher, but you don't have to. In fact, don't do it right now. So I'm gonna cold warp us over to SU2. And when we land, I want everybody to starburst. And what starburst means is everybody go in different directions. In particular, if we're in E-War or even tackle, that means we're going to go burn tacticals off in different directions. So I want you to get, I want you to pick a random direction, turn on your micro warp drive or your prop mod, and burn me tacticals 200 kilometers away so I can warp to you. So 150 kilometers is enough, but 200 is safe. And so if we're in a bigger fleet with cruisers, battleships, we're really fast in frigates compared to them. So if you go ahead and go burn the tacticals, if there was something in the engagement that the FC didn't like, he would be able to warp to any one of us. And then the other thing that you can do is you can start laying, particularly if you're in E-War, this is a really good strategy. You can start hitting Control B and making yourself bookmarks at 150 kilometers. So once you're more than 150 kilometers from gate, go ahead and hit Control B, and now you'll have one tactical at SU2. I just name them TAC a lot of times in these far out systems. So if you're warping to this gate, you can actually warp to that tactical, and you'll be a little bit safer. If there was a smart bombing battleship at the gate, he's not going to get you if you're at that tactical. Okay, everybody go ahead and warp yourself back to gate. Your align time is worse if your micro warp drive is on, because you're aligned at 75% of your max speed. So if the FC tells you to align, if they haven't told you to turn the prop mod on or off, you're going to want to turn it off. You guys can come on back. We're going to jump through. You should be able to warp. There you go. If you're less than 150 kilometers from something, then you will not be able to warp to it. So sometimes if you're just on the edge, you can actually turn around and get that a little bit more distance and warp faster than you can just burn the whole way. So that's another strategy you can use. All right, let's go ahead and jump through. All right, the FC might ask you to go ahead and burn back to gate. So go ahead, everybody select this gate and go ahead and hit approach, turn your prop mod back on, get to 0 on the gate. This could be, you know, you came into the system, saw something they didn't like, so they're gonna jump through, or maybe maybe we jump through and then it looked like the fight is gonna be on the other side of the gate. It makes a mistake happen, or he wants to have the option of going either way. All right, so you might hear the burn back to gate. Everybody go ahead and anchor on me. So again, you can just select me and hit anchor 1000 with this left click or right click. And I want you to put your prop mods on. Prop mod is your micro warp drive. All right, so sometimes the FC asks for 1 cycle or 2 cycles. So then you will just, if he just says 1 cycle, you can go ahead and turn it off immediately after, or you can count the number of cycles they ask, or they might have their prop mod off and say, keep your prop mod on until you get to me. They might say prop mod's green, prop mod's red. So, you know, the hope is you're hearing it here for the first time, and so then all the lingo is not so bad when you get to a fleet. So go ahead and turn your prop mod off, and let's align and keep going. Anybody have any questions on anything so far?
What's a cheetah?
Ajita is the main trade hub in Eve, and suddenly you're mean.
The align time on this is not good.
What's that, Enzo?
Manticore. It's the first time we've taken it out.
I can also tell why we don't run Bantams. They're pretty bad.
Everybody jump through. All right, so we have 1 neutral in the system. Something to note, we're going to go ahead and ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and cold warp us to the next system. If you didn't catch this fleet warp, go ahead and warp yourself to W9 TAC D. So if that happens sometimes on a gate, is if you didn't come through right when the FC warped off, then you're going to have to warp yourself.
Newt's in an nest arrow.
So he's probably doing an explo or he's baiting. We could kill him. Don't be bad like me, load ammo. Everybody on video is probably being like, oh my god.
Oh, I'm loaded.
I made sure to do that before we left.
Everybody go ahead and jump through. So in fleets that you're coming back home usually, or that they have intelligence that everything's safe, you might be asked to free burn. So everybody, let's go ahead and free burn through the next gate. That means you're gonna do it yourself. Warp yourself.
Wait, did you mean that, or are you saying
Yes.
hypothetically?
Yeah. Everybody free burn to KW. So that means warp yourself. They'll usually tell you a few systems. So let me look at the set destination. Everybody free burn to CB4. So that means you're even going to take the jump gates until you get to CB4. You can see along the way that we have a lot of friends out here. So some of our coalition members, including Tactical Supremacy or Tickle, they live out here. So they have a Fortizar here. So if you needed to, if you were going along this route and you needed to take a break, you could dock up at any of these blue structures. Okay, hold on the CB4 gate. All right, once you land, just go ahead and orbit the gate 1000. We'll do a little gate camp here. So the next thing I want to do is talk about D-scan. So if you're a scout, or if this actually works too, if there's hostiles in system or you're tackled, when you're doing PvE, you can copy paste your D-scan to this website. So go ahead and open it. And then your D-scan is near your capacitor to the left. There's a little, it looks like a radar. You can also hit Alt-D and open your D-scan. And you can do your, you open the directional scanner, you can hit scan. You're going to want to have it set to range, the max range and angle 360 degrees. You can use the filter to select the PvP basic filter so that it only shows ships, or you can do the ships only, and it'll show all ships. You can select all on the results. You can right click and, you can Control C this. And then you can submit that on the dscan.me. That makes a unique link that you can then link in Fleet, like this. This will tell the FC what you see.
Nice.
So if you're the scout, or if like you run into trouble, this is a good way to give people information. So if you're in something big, which I know a lot of you aren't flying carriers or anything, but they'll want you to provide this information. Or if you say there's if you're just scouting, or maybe you're out traveling and you say there's 10 newts in EX Tech 0, then someone might say, can you give me a D-scan? So then if you can get within 14 AU of them, you can tell the fleet commander what's on scan. All right, everybody go ahead and jump through. And let's free burn to J6QB. Anybody have any questions right now?
Where are we free burning to?
CBL XP. Oh, that's only one system. Let's go to J6QB. So Marin asked, do you want to use warp to 0 or jump? So if you hit jump, then it'll actually land you 15 kilometers off. And so it's better to do warp to 0 and then jump.
That Are you living in the past? It doesn't do that anymore.
It doesn't do
Yeah,
that
no,
anymore.
it sets you right on top of it.
Well, if you autopilot, it does 15 kilometers.
Yes,
That is
autopilot is
correct,
done though.
Autopilot.
All right, everybody, go ahead. So I'm going to do jump. You guys teach the teacher. It's always good.
Oh, hey, Grandpa.
Do we go through to J6 or stop at the gate?
Jump through J6.
Roger.
Jinx has got to test out his new skill.
That's right, I did it.
Jinx has finally trained jumping to level 5.
Actually, I should have brought a griffin because they do the cool wing folding for all this warping.
Gotta have
Gets
that
him bleed.
aesthetic.
Okay, everybody align to TA3. All right, so one thing I didn't show you yet is you can warp to a member of a fleet, and so this is why the catch standings or the impasse standing is so important. If you're not in fleet, people can't warp to you. So I've warped off, and in a moment, I'm going to want you to go ahead and warp to me. Go ahead and warp to Jinx. X is in fleet.
Do you have tackle on something?
No, X is typically mean tackle or I'm tackled. No, X's mean something very different in Eve Desire. I bounced you off of Poco. I'm sorry. It was mean. So you warped a fleet member. You actually would have warped right on top of me, but I did my warp drive away from you. All right, so now let's go. I'm gonna warp everybody over here. If you get stuck on the Poco, you might have to control space. That was a very frosty cold warp. I apologize. So if you ever are going on a roam or a fleet and you want to take something bigger than what the FC called for, everybody go and jump through and then open your fleet window. After you jump through, you can also, if you don't want people to warp you around, or if you're in catch standing and you're worried about people warping you around, it does happen sometimes. You can exempt yourself from warp by hitting the hamburger menu on the fleet and hit flag exempt from fleet warp. So if you're going on a cruiser roam and decide you need to take your hurricane, then it's best to go ahead and flag exempt from fleet warp. Otherwise, everybody's going to warp as slow as you, the slowest ship. All right, we're go ahead and get close. So just going to cold warp us the last couple. Anybody get left behind or is confused where we are?
Oh, poor Marin.
Whoever just talked is like super quiet.
Let me try fixing that.
We're at T3, TA3, and we're holding on the GTAC-A gate. So particularly when we're sometimes if we're taking a fleet out, people might know that that fleet's going to happen, and it's kind of why we're going the long way around here. Is people can have that information. In Eve, it's pretty easy to be a spy and go see other people's pings, so that you can go pick off stragglers. I think for some people that's the most fun they have in the game. So they'll wait for a ping or wait until they know something's going to happen, and they'll wait for somebody to fall behind or trying to catch up, and they'll pounce on them. So that's why it's so important to stay up on the lines and stay with the fleet.
Am I still quiet for whoever?
It's a little bit better. All right, Marin. Okay, you're landing. Everybody go ahead and jump through. So the thing, what are we doing in Providence here at the staging? I think I mentioned earlier, on June 7th, there is a big change that all the stations that were built by players are getting changed into faction Fortizars, which is going to be worth a lot of money. So Pandemic Legion had taken them, most of them, from Providence, who's kind of a neutral entity that's been living in Providence. It was called Provi Block. They were living there for years, and Pandemic Legion came for the money grab, but they came a little early, and so now we're trying to contest them. Right now, so there's a lot of what's called intosising, or toasting is what you're going to hear it called. And what that is the mechanism for taking stations and taking space. So to do that, there's these little nodes that appear in space, and you have to have a special module that you activate on it. And there is a warm-up cycle, and then that takes like 10 minutes, or it depends on how much ratting and mining they had done in the space. But it takes a while, and then there's an active timer that alerts them that you are intosising, and they can come and try to kill you, or they can counter intosis other nodes, and it's kind of like a capture the flag game of who can do it faster. So right now we're not getting a whole lot of resistance. That could change at any time. But right now all the fleets and pings are coming out of where we're about to go here.
Are we jumping?
You should be in UL Tech 7 right now, and we're aligning to ERVK.
Oh, a good portion of us are still on the other side.
Yeah, I never heard
Sorry.
of jump.
Jump, jump, jump. I don't actually FC other than these fleets. I'll rebroadcast this.
Today I ate a raw ear of corn.
That sounds terrible.
It's
And-
actually
been
pretty
out of
good.
place.
That's been recorded for all of history for you now too.
Sweet corn or cow corn?
Sweet corn. Only 25 cents.
Okay, gate is green. Gate is green. All right, so this is the staging system. We're going to broadcast this Fortizar here. Everybody align there. So the Fortizar should have combat ships. It might even have some mining ships, because once we take a system, we have to get the ADMs up, which are the activity defense multipliers. They're up on the upper left. If you've got the, you have to hit the arrow on this under to the left of the system to show them, but it's the little shield. So the more full the shield is, the harder it is to take the space.
So basically, rat and mine to fortify system.
Right, but make sure that we own the system before you do that. And you know
Jinx, you
this.
warped yourself.
Yes, I know. So this is FC Bingo. So FC warped himself, And so everybody needs to go ahead and warp themselves to the Fortizar.
Give me weak commander.
And as a special treat, so FCs usually promise content. When they don't deliver, you get to kill them. So I want everyone to lock me up. Suddenly you can broadcast me as a target. I want everybody to yellow box me. No, don't shoot me yet. Marin, go ahead and lock me up. You want to get on the kill mo? Enzo, lock me up.
Yep.
All right, so you guys can fire at will. Oh, I'm being repped. Yes. They're not going to be able to kill me if you don't help them, Dalashar. I'm jammed.
That sounds so mean.
Oh, those reps.
I'm holding, just barely.
Overheating these reps.
I was going to try to disrupt you, but I'm jammed, so I can't do anything. So you guys can go ahead and overheat your guns to break this. So that's, you can click or shift click. Oh, I'm dead. Don't kill the pot. All right, so everybody needs to wake up. You'll have an engagement timer now. So you cannot dock in a Fortizar or even tether on a Fortizar while you have the engagement tether. It's a chain on the upper left hand corner. And it takes, is it a minute to cool down?
I
don't
got
have-
35 seconds.
Yeah, so I think it's a minute full. So go ahead and get within tether range.
And to our right, you will see some fucking titans.
Yep, so there's some really big ships. It looks like there's some super carriers, so you can, one of the rules is don't bump them. Usually don't talk about them in open comms, but here they've been here the whole time, so it's not that big a deal.
Does anybody else think they look like turds?
They
That
look
would
way
offend
better
some
than that.
people.
Like, I'm sorry, but they just little squiggly turds.
Okay, when you can dock, go ahead and dock up.
Go up to that depot at 100, I bet you'll land in.
I'm gonna stop the recording here. I guess I'll wait until. So once we dock up, yeah, you can warp to Sunly over there. You're gonna want to leave your ship and click on the clone bay and go ahead and install a jump clone here. So most everybody else was asked to put a death clone here, but that's a little bit more of a commitment. So every time you die, you come back here. If you're new, I know a lot of you guys don't have a ton of ISK. So if you put a jump clone here, that will let you jump over here and join on fleets. You now have a ship here, and if you trade me, I think I can give you another ship. Just for the video, to do the jump clone, you click on the clone bay over here, and then on this button, it'll say install jump clone. I already have one installed. All right, that's the end of the recording, and I'll stick around and answer some questions. And I have another free ship for you guys if you want.